President, thank you so much for joining us on Euronews for this interview. Of course, this is happening at an important time for Europe, and I want to get your brains on a speech that was made this week by Mario Draghi, and he suggested this is now the time for the European Union to make decisions to work like a real federation and a true union. Would you agree?
I agree with the true union. I mean, but I'm not sure about federation. I mean, if you think it's the right way to go, but I guess it's difficult at this very moment to build up a federation. So there are new countries, you join the European Union, and they probably want to keep the independence and so forth. But in general, we should probably at some point move to this federation, because to have makes us more united, makes us more faster, especially these days when we have to make decisions. It's very slow in European Union. And of course, you mentioned Draghi. I mean, Draghi's report is also very important document. But unfortunately, it has not been followed, and I guess Mr. Draghi is also very disappointed. So
he seems frustrated.
Yeah, I mean,
what is the source of the paralysis? Is this, as you say, the European Union is 27 countries, the functioning of the machine is very complex. Does that make you think, to be a true union, we need to change the way we operate from within?
Yes, but we can start with very little things like bureaucracy. I mean, it's a lot of bureaucracy in European Union, and this slows everything down, also in states. So I have to adopt all these bureaucratic declarations and so forth. So it takes time. So we should start from bureaucracy, and probably digitalization and AI might help. But then again, there are always people behind, so we should start with people probably.
And President, the European Union has said by 2030 we need to be ready to face, they don't use this word, but ultimately this is what it comes down to, a potential war, a conflict, a military clash with Russia. Is that, you think, at this point, really happening, this idea of a union of defense? Is that materializing quickly enough? Are you concerned?
What do we actually do to make sure it's also going to happen? So that's why deterrence and, defense industry, building up a defense industry again, it's important. I mean, Estonia is a small country, and we put 5% on defense already, and we should encourage also other countries to do the same, because you have to be ready, not ready for a war, but the enemy, our enemy understands there's no point to attack European Union or any European country.
Do you still believe NATO is the ultimate backstop for security for the continent?
Yes, I do. I mean, I don't think we should build another NATO in Europe. I mean, another defense system.
The reason why I ask you this question is because after the very aggressive language that President Trump put forward on Greenland, and obviously that is now a member state and a member of NATO, Denmark, also in a way a perfect ally, some would say, within NATO, that has sparked a conversation that maybe NATO will not come to rescue Europeans. Is that something that now you worry about at night?
We're not worried, but we don't want to test it. We don't want to test Article 5. So that's why I'm saying we have to be ready, but not to be ready to start the war with our enemies. So it's a defense system you are building up, because we have been rather, I would say, naive after the fall of the Berlin Wall in Europe. So we think all the wars are over and everything is fine and we are developing fast and so forth. But if you look back in history, it's thousands of years of history. It's a history of wars. So that means we have to be prepared and make sure it doesn't happen again, at least to postpone it.
And at this point, we do have to talk about a war that is ongoing, and that is Ukraine also at this point, very difficult context because of the freezing temperatures that are happening in the country. And ultimately, these are Europeans freezing under minus 20 degrees. This diplomacy from the U.S., but also the efforts from the Europeans, they are not moving forward. This war is not ending anytime soon.
Trump said already last April that we are very close, but now it's almost a year, but we are still discussing. And the problem is, it's not the question of President Zelensky and President Trump discussing. We need Putin behind the table, but that he's not willing to do so. And you mentioned what's happening now in Kiev. I mean, it's minus temperatures, and it's not -5, it's minus 20.
It's inhumane.
Yes, and now another attacks last night to cities and to power plants. So it's not humane. I mean, this is not it's not a reality, to be honest, but it happens right now.
There is a growing number of countries that suggest perhaps the reason why the dialogue, not just between Zelensky and President Trump, but really engaging in a sort of diplomatic channel with the Russians is not moving, it's not working, is because there's no direct communication. And this is a time now to name an EU envoy for Russia. Is that a good idea in your mind?
Yes, of course. I mean, European Union should be involved in these discussions as well. Although we are not fighting with Russia directly, but we have been supporting Ukraine for so many years already and continue to do so. So we should have a say as well. But you see, I mean, again, we are a bit late. We should have started it, maybe not President Trump, but maybe European Union, to start also finding diplomatic solutions to this.
To talk to Russia.
Yes, to talk to Russia.
To speak directly to Russia.
But a couple of years ago, we were in a position that we don't talk with aggressors, and now we're worried that we are not behind the table. So
you would argue at this point, it doesn't mean there's less support for Ukraine, but it reflects a reality. We have to talk directly to Russia.
We should use all the means to end this war, and to end this war like a just war like Ukraine wants. It's not the question what we want, but Ukraine wants peace, that's for sure. I mean, people are dying.
So they will not oppose this? The Ukrainians have not signaled they would not like if a European...
As far as I know, yes. Yeah.
And sir, do you have a name in mind that you go and think, it's a respected, tough, credible person, they should engage with Russia? We seem to hear from the Russians that they have nothing to discuss with the top diplomat, and that would be Kaja Kallas. So is there anyone that you think this is the right person?
I can't name the names, but for sure we need a person who has credibility on both sides. And it's an old question already. I mean, if you think about Kissinger, who said also, I talk to Europe, who I talk to. Yes. So we need it. Of course, we do have European Union, but there are other European countries, and we need probably a president or prime minister or chancellor from bigger European countries to take this job, or former of these people from these positions.
And the other flip side beyond the war is the outlook that Ukraine says they want and they need. The end of the war obviously will bring a form of stability, but it's not a full peace. They talk about a prosperity plan, which I know has already been shared with the different capitals. They talk about an outlook to 2040, and then they talk about accession. A number of figures have been reported, 2027, maybe before 2030. Is there a future for Ukraine in the EU within that timeline? It seems to me 2027, is that realistic?
To be honest, it's not, because for us, it took also more than 10 years, and we were not in a war. So it takes time, and you have to fulfill all the requirements and so forth. But Estonia is very open to this enlarging European Union, and we are proponents of that developments. It's not only Ukraine, but other Balkan countries as well. So, but of course, we should, and it's not, one thing is European Union, but then this peace plan is there. We need also some security guarantees for Ukraine.
What's going to break this cycle? Is it the Europeans saying we will put boots on the ground? Is this extending perhaps a nuclear deterrence over Ukraine? Is this the United States saying we will come and engage militarily? What breaks this cycle so it's credible?
Of course, there are countries who are ready to put boots on the ground. Some are not. Some are in different ways, like we do now. We help militarily Ukraine and train them and so forth. But we need somebody present. Unfortunately, it's also, as a part of a peace deal, somehow Russia has to accept it as well. Which is
and they say that's World War III. The Russians argue that you are too paranoid and you are hysterical, that they have never said that they will do anything to the Baltics or Poland. Do you take that as a signal? If they say they don't, it means they will.
What we see, I mean, it's very difficult to believe Russia. Again, look back to how many deals, how many promises. So it's very difficult to believe. I mean, also Russia said, we never attack NATO. It might not happen, but it might also happen. That's why we have to be ready.
And sir, just to close up this segment, for Ukraine specifically when it comes to accession, I cover Brussels for many years now, and everyone that I speak to about this tells me it's difficult to put a date. 2027, it's not realistic, but it's also clear that the accession for Ukraine will not be a normal accession. Is that something you would say that is the realpolitik? It will not be a normal accession process. We will have to cross lines that we have not until now.
We always cross lines when a new member is entering the European Union. But of course, Ukraine is different. So I don't know whether it's wise to make exceptions. Because there are other countries who have been waiting in a hallway for quite a while.
They'll say it's unfair and it was political.
Yeah, and it's and also Moldova and Balkan states. So there are certain requirements, and one has to follow. And actually, Ukraine is doing quite a good job. I'm fighting with corruption, although we see still.
You worry about the story around corruption?
I mean, corruption is well. We did fight with this corruption in the 90s. And we managed to get rid of this corruption. We digitalized everything. That means it's very transparent. It's very difficult to be corrupt in our country.
Just as a final question, President Karius, we are obviously in Dubai. I think it's very well written in this panel. You're participating for the first time in this conference. Why reach out to the Gulf? Do you think you would have been here today interested in engaging in this dialogue if President Trump had not been elected and put on the tariffs? Because the impression that we get is the European Union is now really reaching out in a way out of necessity.
No, I don't think so, at least as far as Estonia is concerned. We are trying to diversify our businesses, and we are already present in 150 countries, which is for a small country, it's a real thing. So it's not, doesn't matter who is president of the United States or who is president in somewhere else. So we are trying to do our job and try to develop faster than maybe some other country.
Well, President Karius, thank you so much for joining us on the Europe Conversation on Euronews. Great to see you.
Thank you very much.